Myles Garrett just did a awesome deed and made a good move to help Shedeur Sanders, new head coach Todd Monken, and the Cleveland Browns potentially make more moves to adding more talent to help this team win.
The most important part of Myles Garrett's contract restructure is not that he moved money around, it is who he just put on the clock. Because when the best player on your roster voluntarily changes his deal to create flexibility, that is not routine business. That is a message. It tells the front office, the locker room, and the rest of the league that excuses are running out. If Cleveland believes it has something real in Shedeur Sanders, then now it has even fewer reasons not to build this thing properly. And that is why this move matters so much more than the headline. Garrett did not do this because he had to. He was not cornered. He was not some declining veteran being asked to help clean up the books. According to the source material, this is the reigning Defensive Player of the Year, the best player on the team, choosing to adjust his contract so the Browns have more room to operate.
Myles Garrett have agreed to modified language on his contract that became official on Tuesday per league sources. Garrett's contract previously called for his option bonuses in 2026, 2027, and 2028 to be exercised by the 15th day.
That alone changes the temperature around this offseason. The mechanics matter here, because this was not some tiny accounting tweak dressed up as big news. The Browns and Garrett reportedly modified the language in his deal so that option bonuses in 2026, 2027, and 2028 no longer have to be exercised by the 15th day of the league year. Under the new terms, that deadline moves much closer to the season, just 7 days before the regular season each year. On top of that, $8 million of Garrett's base salary in 2029 and 2030 was shifted into earlier roster bonuses. That gives Cleveland more flexibility in the part of the calendar where teams actually shape their roster. Free agency, trades, the stretch where you decide whether a young quarterback is being set up to survive or to actually grow. And yes, Garrett benefits from the revised payment structure. This is not charity. It is not one-sided. But that is not the point. The point is that he did not need to cooperate at all, and he still chose to. For a player with his status, that tells you he sees something worth investing in. That is where Shedeur Sanders enters the picture. The biggest question hanging over Cleveland heading into 2026 was never just whether Sanders could handle the job. It was whether the offense around him would be good enough to let that question get answered honestly. A young quarterback can only show so much if the protection is shaky. The receiver room lacks punch, and the roster depth forces the offense to play small every week. That is what makes Garrett's move feel bigger than a defensive star helping the cap sheet. He just helped the offense, directly. He gave Andrew Berry more room to chase help at wide receiver, on the offensive line, or anywhere else the Browns decide this roster is thin. So now the conversation shifts. It is no longer only about what Sanders has to prove. It is also about what Cleveland is willing to put around him. And that changes the stakes. Because when a veteran leader on defense makes a move like this, he is doing more than creating cap space. He is validating the direction of the franchise. He is saying this build is worth supporting. He is saying the window matters now. He is saying this team should be thinking bigger than just getting through another season. That kind of buy-in is not nothing. You do not fake that. It also says something about Andrew Berry. One of the recurring points in the source material is that Berry's biggest strength may be his grasp of the salary cap, and this move fits that reputation. The value of a front office is not just in drafting well or winning headlines in March. It is in creating options when the board gets messy. It is in making sure one bad market or one thin draft does not box you into desperation. And this is exactly where the broader offseason picture starts to connect. The draft, as described in the source, is not as clean for Cleveland as it was a year ago. Last time, the board gave Berry room to move, collect value, and still come away with impact players. This time, the top of the class feels less certain. The obvious blue-chip answers are not so obvious. The tackle projections come with questions. The receiver evaluations come with concerns. The kind of clean, easy decision that fans always want may not be there when Cleveland is on the clock. That matters, because it means the Browns cannot assume the draft will solve the offense for them. And that is exactly why Garrett's restructure becomes more than a symbolic gesture. If the right offensive playmaker is not there at the top of the draft, Cleveland now has more freedom to pivot. It can trade back. It can stay patient. It can look to free agency or the trade market instead of forcing a pick just because the offense needs help. Flexibility is power in the NFL, especially when the clean path disappears. That is what Garrett just bought them. Options. And for a team trying to bring along a young quarterback, options are everything. This is also why the locker room side of this story should not be brushed aside. A quarterback notices when a franchise icon on the other side of the ball goes out of his way to make the team better. A young player notices when support is not just talked about, but acted on. Sanders now walks into that building knowing the best defender on the team just made a move that could help the offense around him. That does something to belief. Not empty belief, not off-season slogan belief. Real belief, the kind that comes from seeing that the people with the most to lose are still willing to invest in the direction of the team. Garrett's action tells everyone in that building that this is not supposed to be another placeholder year. It is supposed to mean something, and that is where the Browns lose the right to hide. Because once a player like Garrett makes this kind of commitment, the pressure moves upward. To Barry, to ownership, to the people deciding whether this extra room becomes actual help or just another nice story that fades by September. Jimmy Haslam's willingness to spend was also highlighted in the source, and that matters here too. A front office can create flexibility, but ownership still has to back the push. If Cleveland is serious, this is the moment to prove it. That is the real tension inside this whole story. Not whether Myles Garrett sacrificed, not whether the Browns created cap room, not whether everybody says the right things in March. The real tension is whether Cleveland can turn belief into structure, because Garrett has already done his part. He has already shown the locker room what urgency looks like. He has already helped create a path for this team to add what it needs. The easy part now is praising the gesture. The hard part is using it well. And if the Browns do use it well, then this move could end up meaning a lot more than one line on a contract report. It could become the moment Cleveland's best player made it impossible for the franchise to stay half committed. It could become the moment the organization stopped asking Shedeur Sanders to carry hope by himself and started building a real environment around him. That is why this story lands. Because on the surface, it looks like a cap move. In reality, it is a challenge. Myles Garrett just gave the Browns more room, more time, and more flexibility. Now the franchise has to decide whether it was handed an opportunity or exposed by one. And if Cleveland really is building something around Shedeur Sanders, then this is the point where that belief has to show up in the roster, not just in the messaging. What Myles Garrett did here was bigger than money, bigger than cap math, bigger than one off-season headline. This was a franchise cornerstone stepping up and making one thing clear. If Cleveland is serious about Shedeur Sanders, then now is the time to prove it. No more hiding behind potential. No more talking about the future like it is always 1 year away. The room is there now. The opportunity is there now. And the pressure is there now. Because when your best player makes a move like this, he is not just helping the front office. He is forcing a decision. Either build something real around this quarterback or waste another window everyone will pretend was never open. And that is why this moment matters. Not because it guarantees anything, but because it removes excuses. Myles Garrett has already made his move. Now we find out whether the Browns are actually ready to match it. And if you already know this story is about a lot more than a contract, stay locked in with Huddle Files, because this is where we track the moves, the pressure, and the moments that tell you what a franchise really believes before the rest of the league catches on. And you already know, but we'll have every second of it broken down, every twist, every leak, every hidden play behind the headlines. So like, subscribe, drop a comment, and share it out. Stay locked in with Huddle Files, where the real NFL stories live.